Hello, everyone. David here. Welcome back to the DGR podcast. Hope you're all doing well. This is episode number 52, and I have a great guest. I have Drewe Broughton. You may or may not know Drewe, but if you know him, you're more likely to know him from his kind of social media name and business kind of name, which is the Fear Coach. And Drewe is a former professional footballer. He played for 17 years in England, played for 22 different clubs at varying levels. I don't necessarily think he would describe his career as the most enjoyable, because I think he felt like he didn't perform to his best and he fell into some addiction issues and things like that. And a lot of that comes back to, at least he has said, it comes back to being crippled with fear, to be honest, and fear getting in the way. And it did take me a little while to understand some of the message and some of the things that he was talking about online. But actually, when I opened my eyes and saw it, and the more I speak to coaches and therapists in the industry as well, I can see that people are crippled with fear everywhere. They're afraid to post on social media in case another coach says something to them. They're afraid to say to their clients, here's what I think you should do, because actually the client is used to getting a massage from someone else. They're afraid of progressing on in their career because what it might mean about all different things. And they're afraid to we're afraid, a lot of us are just afraid to just live our lives the way we really want to live it and being honest with ourselves. So I think it's a huge topic. I think it does get to the crux of a lot of the issues that we as coaches and therapists have and that our clients have as well, where ultimately we're just afraid and we're not actually dealing with that in the first place. So I think it's a really good podcast. I think it does take time to maybe digest some of that information. If you're open to it, then it will have profound impacts on how you view the world, I think. So if you enjoyed the podcast, obviously give us a shout out and tag me and Drewe. But without further ado, here is Drewe, the Fear Coach. Drewe, thank you very much for jumping on. It's great to have you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, good. It's been a busy week. Done 2 presentations this week, big corporate companies, and you're standing on the stage there, and it was about the emotional journey through change in high performance cultures, because unless you change, you're going to get fired. So it's like, okay, well, how do I start that for a conversation, an hour on stage? So it takes a lot, right? It takes 2 days of that. I sit there before and I always go in the toilet cubicle wherever I am, and I shut the door and I just close my eyes and just ask for the strength to do it, because no one wants to change. Mm-hmm. They certainly don't want to. They think they want to change, but in the physical world, right? Okay, you come in, you're getting a load of patellar tendonitis issues, which I suffered from. Okay, do you want to do the work?
Yeah, and that's the good thing with that world is, like, it's very obvious. You can either see it or you don't. Is your quad still completely atrophied, or actually have you done something? But in your world, it's probably a little bit hard. Well, actually, probably you can see if someone has done the work or not. But I suspect people can fake it a little bit easier.
I just think, and certainly, my mid-40s now, the older I get, and the more I've done this 11 years, and obviously 17 years as a footballer. So I just want to be by myself a lot, David. I don't want to be near any human beings, because working with such accountable human beings all day long for my job, such accountable people who I wonder sometimes there's no end to the mirror they'll come to. Mm-hmm. And I just love being around people like that, because the conversation is just easy. You can sit in silence for 5 minutes and there'll be no problem. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But the minute you walk back into the world, we do this, and there's this word and that word, and psychological safety and high performance, and you're just like, well, none of that's happening here.
Yeah. It's interesting that you mentioned that. Like, you go into the toilet cubicle before, because when we're doing workshops, Kira, my wife, comes with us, and she's the operations manager for the company. She was actually probably the person emailing you, but I always get her to greet everyone when they're coming in first. Yeah. And she doesn't understand it. She's like, you need to be at the door greeting everyone. I'm like, no, I need to just be on my own. I need to get in my space. And then when I'm ready, I'll come out and do what I need to do. So yeah. It's a weird thing that I don't know if I like about myself, but it just has to be the case for me.
Well, yeah, for me, it's not weird. I just understand that I'm conscious today. I'm awake and I'm conscious and I'm feeling everything. And that's high performance. Anything under that isn't. Mm-hmm. The highest level of performance physically We can measure, right? I mean, I've been an athlete. You can strap a GPS on me. We can look what I'm lifting in the gym. We can measure my urine and my saliva and send that to the lab for the nutritionist. I can be measured. But the highest level of performance emotionally, that's some serious awareness. Mm-hmm. And I think the minute you step into that, it's a very lonely place, because all of a sudden you're feeling everything. It's like, oh shit.
Yeah. 100%. I tell you where I first came across you it was a couple of years ago now, I think, and there's a Gaelic footballer in Ireland called Conor Moyler. And
Conor.
Yeah, and I had done a bit of work with Conor. They actually won. Tyrone, his team, won the All Ireland that year, and they were big outsiders probably to win it. And after I had done a little bit of work with him that year, just on his movement. I'm literally taking zero credit for anything, but after the All Ireland, I was listening to a podcast with him, and he mentioned, or maybe it was like a radio interview or something, and he mentioned your name. And Conor is an intelligent guy, and he's like, I think he's tuned in and he understands, a lot of athletes, I think they can get sucked into different things maybe, and with promises of different things, but he's an intelligent guy. And I think I went onto your Instagram and I followed it, and I didn't understand it, didn't necessarily not agree, but just didn't understand what you're saying. And then as maybe the following 12 months went by, because I had my own kind of Gaelic football career that was riddled with injuries, and the things you were saying, I was like, he's fucking describing my career there in terms of like, I didn't realize it, and I'm only realizing it now, but how probably afraid I was all of the time of actually letting go and being myself and underperforming and being judged and all that stuff. So yeah, that's where I came across you.
Oh yeah, it's I remember Conor well, and we still speak. But he came on one of my original first leadership courses 2.5 years ago that I launched, and I'm very intense. The age of 8, I sat in my bedroom and said, I'm going to play for England. There was no grey area after I made that decision, and I sacrificed like any athlete would do. There was no parties. I didn't do anything in my teens. It was football. And 17, made my debut for Norwich City against Wolves, scored. Adidas gave me a 3-year contract, and I went on the plane with the England under-20s to the World Cup, Rio Ferdinand's year and Michael Owen, and I was part of the 26 squad, right? And you go, okay. So intensity, professionalism, desire. No, I'm very blessed. I've got those in abundance, but they were the problem. As the career went on, those very same attributes that get you there were the problem, because on the way up, you're a child, you're in your creativity, you're just playing. You go back to movement, and I had a bunch of injuries, and I'm looking at all these weird and wonderful experts, and working now with players at Man United and all these clubs. So many injuries, it's just a fuck up. I mean, the misdiagnosis is a disgrace. The experts in Europe, miles off it. I got guys who are flying into South America and coming back fixed. And then the physios, who have you seen down there? Some witch doctor. And drop your ego, man. Drop your ego. Come to the well and say, the degree let me down. The education's woefully inadequate, because whoever signs that education off every year and said we're good to go again, when's that reassessed? Mm-hmm. And so I looked at the body, and for me, emotions are exactly the same. Kids move absolutely fluidly. Well, now here's a barbell. Hang on, why are you doing that? And I've had this. So that was my journey through injuries, and just the simplification of everything. And that really works for me, right? Because it's like, that's the child state. And so my obsession and my desire and my drive is amazing, because it set me apart and drove me. But the problem was with that drive is that it means that nothing's ever enough. It means that I only want to play if I'm going to be man of the match and score. I don't even want to get out of bed otherwise. No point. It was no point for me. It's winning or not. So it's a very extreme mentality, which is amazing. You said Conor's an intelligent guy. He's an intelligent guy like I am. So I'm then going to go, right, well, how can I find the marginal gains?
Mm-hmm.
And then you run down that rabbit warren, which is never ending. And now I'm weighing my food, I'm taking vitamins, I'm sending urine into London and saliva tests, and they come back from the lab, and what am I looking for there? And you reflect on your career, and for me, it was in rehab at 33 for an emotional breakdown at the end of the career, and homeless, wife's gone, money's gone, and you're sitting there, and incredibly enlightening moment to just a simplification of it all, and you start to reflect in that 30 days in a forest with all the work you're doing with a therapist, and it's like, fuck. You look at your 600 games, let's say for me, and you say, well, 5% of them at best. That was me. That was the player that was in the first team at 17. The Adidas went, I tell you what, they sell some boots from this guy, England. That 5%. So, well, what did I do on those 5% of occasions? I was tired, and I was bored, and I was sick and tired of training, told it's this way, it's that way, don't do this, percentages, sit with a stats analyst, sit with his sports science, just tired. I did nothing. I fucked it all off. Probably even 2.5% of the 5% I was drunk. So you go, well, if you observe that and go, well, how coming off that pitch are all the staff in the dressing room in front of 30 guys going, that you're a leader, and men, like what you did today, and that's the level. And you're sitting there thinking, well, I'm drunk still a little bit if I was in my system. I've not done anything this week. I've fucked up all the weights. I've had a couple of, but I've done nothing.
Yeah.
The confusion when the adrenaline drops off and the fans leave the stadium and the press go, and you get in your car. This is a moment I've shared with a lot of players, and they go, fuck, that's it. You get in your car in the car park, and there's a minute before you start the car, and you're just sitting there, and your body's battered, you're tired, but you're going, fuck, that was it today. And then it's like, I don't know what I've done there.
Mm-hmm.
No idea.
Why do you think that those like not giving a shit maybe are? Why do you think those moments were more helpful for you as a player? Well, that's the exact opposite that all them coaches are telling you.
Well, it's exactly the opposite culture of the marginal gains world, which we'll go into. I mean, it's the opposite of everything. There was a thing on LinkedIn the other day, a 50-page PDF broke down by this top analysis company of the World Cup so far. I mean, I couldn't believe the amount of likes and comments, and there was heat maps and graphics and the USA, England, and maps and arrows, and people like, this is awesome. And I just went, well, what the fuck are you going to do with this? I mean, I'm Harry Kane. Harry, you have a look at that dossier before the game. I can do, but what? I mean, I can score goals, fit, decent player. Okay. So what's my only battle? Being myself, nothing else. There's your dossier back. Thanks very much. Right. It's like, there's no value in any of that. Right. It's like, but I say that because I've been in the arena. And when I started social media 4.5 years ago, it was just like a friend of mine, and I was busy. Like I was working under the radar. New clients would come from one of the guys in the locker room, like, WhatsApp my guy, use my guy. And then it was, and I just thought, well, authenticity saved my life 11 years ago. So I'm just going to go on there, press record, and just share. And man, I mean, the amount of people and when I started to get top level players, I remember getting a lad from Chelsea and one from Man United, right? And they said to me, I don't know how I came across your live. And it was 10:30 at night, wife and kids were in bed. And I'm on my fucking knees. I'm downstairs in my mansion, probably on an 80 grand sofa. Didn't say that, but probably was.
Probably.
Which again is just like they're saying, it's all bollocks. All I want to find is the player within. Mm-hmm. And you started talking, I thought, fuck it, is he behind the curtains? Like, and it was like you were talking about Wednesday's good and Tuesday, and then Thursday comes, Friday, and the voices get louder, and then Saturday, and then a few more meetings, and you're now leaning into, can I have my status? And they're like, this is it. And then come game time, you're a bag of nerves, you're a bag of nerves, you're a mess.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I think it's what you're describing with the heat maps and the tactics and all that stuff. I think the perfect example is happening in front of our eyes right now, which is Marcus Rashford. For the last 2 years or 18 months, he looked like the most unhappy player. And I'm sure he was being told a lot of things over the last couple of years, and now it just seems like he's just relaxed, let it go, and just decided to play. And he's a completely different player. And I don't think you can just write that down and show someone, here's how I want you to play. I don't think that works.
No. I mean, yeah, I won't share too much, but I think about some of the clients I've worked with and some of the high-profile players who you see have these turnarounds in the media. And it's funny because the lads I work with would be like, it's brilliant because all the media like, yeah, he's done this. And even Rio Ferdinand the other night, what Rashford's done, he's gone back to basics and he's working hard again. I'm thinking, what are you talking about, mate? Like, that has nothing to do with it. Because what you're really saying then, he was lazy.
Yeah. He was probably working harder before.
Yeah, but he was depressed. He was down. He'd lost himself. And whoever's worked with him, he's just done that. So I think it's just, to go right back to the original point, it's just trying to simplify everything, Dave. I think we live in a really simple world. And it's just overcomplicated.
Why? What stage did you realize like it was maybe fear that was holding you back, or why did you come across the word fear as opposed to maybe some of the different words that people use, and then obviously choosing the name, the fear coach? Can you explain? Because fear, I think, is a big thing, and particularly coaches and therapists listen to this are working with clients, and whether we approach the topic or not, they're shitting themselves that they're injured and they're not. Even if they're weekend warriors or just want to go for a run, if they've lost a little bit of hope, if you don't address that fear in them that you're going to be okay, we're going to work through this, blah, 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 then nothing else seems to work as well. So why fear?
Well, when I'm sitting in rehab 11 years ago, you're unpacking why you're there. I was brought up by an incredible mum and two brothers who were both incredibly successful men. We're all successful boys, right? And you go, well, why? My mum had strong values. You don't take drugs. You don't hit women. You work hard. We were brought up in incredible. And how am I in there? Right. So what am I doing here? I was like the ultimate pro. I was the guy that all the coaches went, look at this guy. So you start to realize it was fear. The fear of failure for me, unless you can harness it, will destroy you. And it destroyed me because I'm terrified of being anything other than my highest level. I'm terrified of not fulfilling what I see and what I've always felt I could be. I had that vision of 8 and I got there. I got there to the top of that mountain by 18. I didn't have a father figure in my life or anyone to kind of go, amazing, Drew, 10 years. Let's just unpack that 10 years. Month by month. Well, fucking hell. 11, 12, 13, 14 hours on the road. No one unpacked it. So obviously, top of the mountain, right, shit, what do I do here? Didn't have a clue. And because you don't have a clue how you got there, really, now fear comes in. Well, because now I'm 18 and now everything's on the line. You're not a kid anymore. You've got to score goals. Money's on the line. Jobs are on the line. Fans will be after you. So I think the fear was always in there. And I think it drove me really, I think I walked that really fine line. And then fear started to creep in. The darkness went into the light. And then it was just terrified. I was just thinking about your point there about injuries. And well, I without doubt, believe, and I saw it, and I'll tell a story on that, but the emotional state of fear will create injuries without doubt, because I've seen it in myself. I saw a top therapist, someone who used to teach for Gary Gray in the US. Mm-hmm. I was working with a player on the emotional side, and this top guy came over and didn't lay a hand on him. And he had repetitive hip issues. I mean, but they'd MRI'd it. There was no real issues in the joint, no bony spurs, anything like that, he was telling me. He'd flown him into Germany. He'd seen the top hip specialist. And this guy was like, look, it would be unethical for me to operate. But saying that, I think I could go in and maybe clean the joint a little bit, and there might be some stuff that we could do. But even saying that, it wouldn't feel right. Yet he's in pain. He is perceiving a feeling of pain. And I was working with him emotionally, and I was like, look, and I knew some people. And I said, look, there's this guy in America, Gary Gray, and I know someone I met years ago teaches for him. And so he came over, and I watched him work with him. We took him, it was an indoor track in London. He said, look, I want you to just run down that track, start running. And he's like, I can't run. That's why I'm here. He's like, okay, what's killing you at the moment? So we do this hamstring bridge where I drive myself up. That's the return to play test, and I can't do it. Okay, do it. So he starts doing it. It hurts and there's no range. And okay, so this guy went, I want you to do me a favor. I said, I'm going to just shine this laser on the wall. It's got like 10, 15 colors in there. Just shout the colors at me while you're doing it. Just please. Just turn the lights off. Red, blue, green, yellow, red, blue, green. And he just nudges me. Range is there. Come on, quicker, quicker, quicker. So he didn't mean quicker to the hips. He meant to the pen. Mm-hmm. Now the hips are driving on the back end. Anyway, didn't let the player know what he'd seen. He got up your pop. He said, no, it was good. He said, enjoyed watching that. He said, look, we're just going to have another run. So he started running again. And he said, look, how tall are you? He said, 6'4". He said, why are you standing 5'11"? He said, like, you're having a rough time. Drew said, you're going through a lot of stuff. And he said, when did you play for England? He said, when I was 19. He was 24 at that time, 23. He said, and what did that look like, your debut? He said, yeah, I was outstanding. He said, and what was your mentality going into that? He said, fuck everyone, because I came from nothing. He said, we'll run down there with that. And he just went bang. He went, cool, come back. And you see this look in this player's face, and he doesn't know what day of the week it is. And that was a moment for me. I was like, geez. And that was 8 years ago now. And he just said, look, you're in a trauma state. You've got addiction issues. You've got all of this fear inside you, which Drew and I have talked about. Until that's healed, we can go around the houses. I can give you as many exercises you want. Nothing's. Mm-hmm. We need to shift this state of being. Mm-hmm. And give the body the place to heal. Now, I'm not saying you might have a leg length difference, all the stuff that they're talking about. That might all be there, and you might need a shoe insertion or all of that, right? But it has to start here. Mm-hmm. That was,
well, I think it should be bleedingly obvious or glaringly obvious to people that, like, they're starting to study, or they're starting to show all of these illnesses like cancers, all this stuff, like chronic stress, the effect that chronic stress has on that. It might not be the only thing that's happening, but like disease is and inflammation is brewing up where there's chronic stressors in your life. And if you talk to a lay person, an everyday person, they will accept that. They will be like, yeah, like, oh, that person is, or their skin, they had a skin breakout, like they must be really stressed. And they can accept these physical manifestations of stress and unhappiness and all these things in their life. But when it comes to someone's hamstring injury, it's like, oh, if you talk to an athlete, like they will agree with you, yes, oh, stress could be a big factor in cancer, but not in my hamstring injury. And it's like, well, how can you, it's not that you were thinking about that exact thing when you tore your hamstring when you were running on the field, but what if your body was just so stressed, you weren't sleeping as well, you weren't digesting your food as well, your rib cage, your pelvis, everything just was a bit locked up because you're so stressed. And that, along with the load and the speed and the movement that happened, was like at least you have to consider that that's having an impact. And it's very frustrating for me. And I love biomechanics, I love strength training, I love all that stuff, I'm obsessed, that's my life. But it's very frustrating for me that people can't actually acknowledge that and have that as part of their, just talk to people as part of their treatment.
Well, I think it goes back to your initial thing when you asked me how I was, and I said it's been a brutal week. I'm standing on the stage talking about change, and it's brutal because, before I talked the other day, there was a couple of powerful people were talking, and one described themselves, and I'm an empath, and another one said, I'm this. And they seemed to really have their shit in order. And I delivered, and after about 20 minutes, I caught their eye, and that, fuck me, the last place they wanted to be was in that room, because the kind of videos I was playing of top people talking about just riddled with this stuff, and because it holds a big ass mirror up then in every area of your life. And I just think, without doubt, there's a million variables, right? You know yourself, there's a million variables. There could be anything at play. I'm just saying we don't take this stuff seriously enough. Mm-hmm. Or we'll say, just see a psychologist, or And to go back to why did I call it fear? Because I understood in myself, it was fear. I wrote it down on a piece of paper then in rehab. I'm scared of everything. I was always scared of everything. And in there, I'm scared of everything now. I'm scared of, will my marriage, currently that's broken down. I've got a 3-month-old daughter. Will I ever see her? Will I ever have any money? Will I ever, where am I going? The career's finished. It was just fear. And the ability to sit with that. I mean, now you're talking about big men. Now you're talking about warriors. Now you're talking about Mike Tyson, Tyson Fury, Kobe Bryant, Tiger Woods. You're talking about the biggest. They all live there. The second rung don't live there. The big men all live there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I can see that now.
Yeah.
I thought I saw that in maybe The Last Dance with Jordan. I thought I saw that. I was like, this guy knew who he fucking was and wanted to be, and
had fear.
Yeah, 100%. It seems like that was a big driver for him.
Whether he managed it perfectly or not, I don't think he managed it personally. I don't think he managed it anywhere near as well as Kobe Bryant, God rest his soul. I think Kobe knew. I think Michael Jordan was still very much on that, yeah, I'm scared, so I'm going to drive him harder and you're a fucking loser. And I don't particularly think he had a handle on that, which is when you see him now bloated and overweight, and that's not a well man. Mm-hmm. Whereas I think Kobe, because of Phil Jackson, there's only 2 ways you manage fear. You become perfectionist or you surrender to it. There's only 2 ways you go. You go double down on this will not come into my life as an athlete. So stronger, quicker, more sleep, more technique. Or you go, yeah, I don't know. I might not be good enough, might lose tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go lifting anymore. I'm not going to go hitting anymore. I'm not going to see it with golf. I work with golf on the tour and, taking away all his practice. And he said to me recently, they go into the new season in Dubai in end of Jan, and I'll go out there for a week. And he said to me, what can I ask you? What would be, for me now as a golfer, how would you structure my week? I said, I'm a footballer, or I was a footballer. I'm a big golf fan. I play off 10. I said, but I'm not going to come on here and tell you how to structure your week. I said, but I'll share you this. I said, if we just look at the base, how old are you now? He said 28. I said, when did you hit your first golf ball? He said 6. I said, all right. I said, 12. All right. You've had 22 years of hitting golf balls. How many years have you been on the tour? 5 years. Okay. College scholarship in America, finished high up the college rankings, top player, made some good money. So I think you can hit a golf ball. Okay. So if you're a plumber or a carpenter, you've got your toolkit. They're all your golf clubs. Keep them sharp. Hour a day, hour and a half. Just keep your tools sharp, ready to do your job. That's it. Don't go searching for anything. Just sharpen them. Mm-hmm. What does your soul need? He said, well, all the stuff we've started doing. Ice water, meditation, prayer, gratitude writing. There's your soul work. And then you probably want to go to the gym and respect your body because you need to be strong. As a human being, forget golf performance at the moment. Let's just go as a human being. Like, you've got to be strong and you've got to move well. So if you just go, okay, I'm going to do some emotion stuff, spiritual stuff. I'm going to do some physical stuff, and I'm going to do some technical stuff. He went, fucking hell. I said, you can have a couple of days off, do what you want around that. I said, but let the rest of them run down rabbit warrens. Because I would put my life on the line that Tiger Woods got injured not because of his swing. I said this to him. That's what everyone will say. He got injured because he went chasing dragons. When he was top of the world and his father was alive. He had Butch Harmon as his coach. He was a very organic guy, Butch Harmon. Mm-hmm. Woods was dominating. And I think a voice as a competitive animal, a voice would have gone to him, no, this is not enough, this. There's a young guy who's just put it out there at 320. Right, I need to get stronger. Let's go. Navy SEALs, 4 a.m. What the fuck are you doing, Tiger? Mm-hmm. If you were his buddy, then you go, Tiger, whoa.
Chill.
like no one can touch you right now. And I understand we've always got to be looking that way. I understand that, but where are you going here?
Yeah.
Like, I don't give a shit if they can hit it 20 yards further. Okay, there might be some advancements in movement, and you might get a more intelligent conditioning coach or whatever who can give you the next 1%, maybe. Mm-hmm. But do you understand how powerful your being is, that under the gun, you don't go under?
Mhm.
And they will all continue to go under.
Yeah. Do you think that someone, if you just go back to Jordan for a minute, do you think that he pushed harder and worked harder and kind of had to have a grudge against someone because he couldn't necessarily, like you're saying with Kobe, like accept that fear? And then do you think when their career is over,
Oof.
what happens then? Because he doesn't have an outlet for that anymore. And you see a lot of athletes, or even people in general, doing like physical challenges where they have to do an Ironman, then they have to do a super Ironman or whatever the next thing. Are they all? Do you think some of them physical challenges are an escape from actually confronting?
Well, without doubt. I think when I heard Weekend Warrior, I always try to be the observer of everything. It's a Buddhist thing, but without labeling something, just observe what's going on here. So, okay, here's a guy who works in the office all week and then runs triathlons and like a lunatic. Okay. Do you enjoy that? Yeah. Which bit do you enjoy? And you keep asking questions, and I'd bet my bottom dollar you'll get back to a guy who's not content with himself. Underneath there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Hence going back to the golf guy. He's a professional player at the highest level. But I had some time and I was doing some mental stuff with Charlie Hull, the English golfer. I worked with her from 16 to 19. She's now 26 and 20. And one day I was at Woburn at the golf club and Ian Poulter came in. He comes back for the Open and he came in. We were talking and he said, I've just had this shoulder injury, but I'm playing. I said, what did you do? I've never done it before, but I'm looking at all the other guys and I live on Lake Nona in Florida, and I went and hired some trainer, a fucking golf expert, and I'm running down the gym hopping with kettlebells. And I said, what the fuck are you doing that for? And he said, well, exactly. Now I'm injured. I've missed however many months. And I said, please never do that again. I mean, Ian, I won't go into it. How many Ferraris you got? How much money you made? How many houses you got? You fly on a private jet. I think you're doing okay. I mean, all right, if you realise you're 38 and you need to strengthen us, do some stuff. But all that nonsense, you're a golfer. You hit a ball which weighs nothing from there to there. I mean, you're not having to bounce off someone coming in from the sea. There's none of that happening.
Mm-hmm.
Just move well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
And so it was just to go back to it. It's just observing, right? Just asking why continuously. I say it to my kids, just keep asking why to your teachers. And at the end, you'll either get someone who doesn't know. And if they're amazing, they'll go, I don't have the answers, but I'd love to explore it with you. Or they'll go into their ego and shame you, at which point we move you out of school.
Somewhere else. Yeah, you're gonna keep moving schools though, because I don't think you're gonna.
Well, I might have to homeschool. My wife texted me the other day and she said, Harrison, he's 3.5, wanted to. They did the part at nursery for the big bad wolf, but he was like, I want to be the wolf, and that they all did an audition, and too many kids were crying when he did the audition. They said he's too scary for a wolf. Yeah. She WhatsApped me. I put it on low, and this is fucking brilliant. This is the world we live in. You got a 3.5-year-old to play a wolf. Now we don't want you being too much like a wolf. Can you be a rabbit who's half wolf? No. It's like,
yeah.
It's like, imagine that telling to the All Blacks, look, I love the way you spearhead tackles, but maybe it's a bit aggressive. Just come back.
Take it back. Yeah.
Well, and again, if you observe that, where does that finish, Dave? Like what? At 3.5, the next one, before you know it, you're fucking nowhere near it.
Yeah, you're being tamed very early there.
Oh. And when you look into Serena Williams, I mean, I think the two best coaches in history is Earl Woods and Richard Williams. I think they're the two best coaches in history. I mean, Pep, and you can put these people, but these two men have raised their kit. Pep didn't raise his players. They've raised the best in the world. And you go, well, what's that? And if you watch the film Richard Williams, it's all in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's all in there.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people would argue with you on Earl Woods, at least, because is he creating, or was he creating like a machine, or was he who was emotionally maybe very damaged and had to have outlets, or but then again, I look at Tiger now and he looks like the happiest he's ever been by far. So maybe he just had to go through some of that turmoil and come out the other side.
Here's the thing, right? I mean, all these people judging Ronaldo at the moment, I just find it hilarious. It's like, what the fuck? I mean, if you don't have his money, if you haven't been best in the world in your field 6 years in a row, or 6 years, if you haven't scored the most, if you haven't got any of these things he's got, then you've got nothing to bring to the party. Brenny Brown says it. If you're not in the arena, you've got nothing to give me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so anyone's opinion on Ronaldo, there's nothing there. I'm like, well, where are you? I work in an office. Okay, interesting. No, it's interesting. I mean, he's Cristiano fucking Ronaldo. I mean, he left home at 14. His dad died at 17. He moved to a different country at 14, cried himself to sleep every night. Got bullied for his bad skin. I mean, the guy's become a machine, unbelievable human being.
Mm-hmm.
His humanitarian work's incredible. I was at a players' box at Old Trafford a year or so ago, and I was talking to the lady who does all the corporate hospitality, and she's probably late 60s, a lovely lady from Manchester, and she goes, "Oh, you're nice." We were talking. I said, "No, thank you very much." She brought a cheese board, and we were talking, right? And I said to her, she said, "Oh, you're very polite, and thank you." I said, "Well, no." I said, "It's exactly how I was raised." And she goes, "Oh, not like half of them these days." I said, "Why? What do you mean by that?" She says, "Well, the players have these boxes, so this all here, like 20 in a row, is the players. And some of them, and the people they have in there, and the way they speak to you and the players." And I said, who's the best overall? You've done how many years here? She was 30 years. 30 years. Who's the best? She goes, "Always Cristiano. No one." Just incredible, like so kind. His family is so beautiful. Everyone's lovely. He knows I see it. He always leaves cash for the girls, and he knows I tell him not to, but he always. So I'm thinking, well, all these fucking idiots online, like, you don't know anything about anything. He's the ultimate because he's humble, he's grounded, but he's going to war every single day, mm-hmm. and he's not backing down off that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you mistreat him, which Man United did in the summer, they abused him in the way they dealt with him in his communication. Good, walk down the tunnel then. I mean, I think that was quite tame. I was waiting for a couple of TVs to be ripped off the wall and smashed up. Mick Jagger would have done that. I mean, why did you stop there, Cristiano? Take some money out your glove compartment, leave it on the side, a couple of million, they can pay for that, and go to Qatar and earn a few more million.
Mm-hmm.
2 goals in, off we go.
where does it end for someone like Cristiano there, though, where like he's at the pinnacle, and then is the danger then that he just surrounds himself with yes men who no one can tell him anything, and you just end up?
No, I think you look at his agent George Mendes. He's certainly not a yes man. I think he's the most successful businessman in Portugal, a multi-millionaire in his own right. So not made off Cristiano. I mean, other interests. I've been very blessed, and now more and more so, I'm the private coach for business owners and players. These guys don't. A lot of the guys who come to me are like damaged birds, like the little bird, they fall out the nest and their wings. I need to get them back up here. And it's funny because I watch them with me, and as they're growing themselves, I get a bit more insecure, and I share it with them. I said, I'm afraid now. And they're like, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Well, now you could be looking at me going, what the fuck am I paying you for?" and they start pissing themselves. They said, "Do you feel that?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "But this is also where I need to take you, because you were depressed. There was no performance. But guys at that level, I mean, I've been around a couple. They are not yes men. They're gonna, no chance. Mm-hmm. You can't perform like that and be a yes man. It's just impossible."
Mm-hmm. What, practically speaking, let's say yourself, Drew, at 25, 26, 28, whatever, came across the message that you're trying to spread now. One, would you have been open to it? And two, like, how would you coach that Drew back then? Like, how would that conversation even go, or what practically can people? How do you even start that conversation for someone who's never?
It's not a quick fix, is it? It's like someone coming to you with chronic back pain over years, or it's not. Okay, here's just off you go.
Yeah.
And emotionally is exactly the same as physically. The emotional part of us and the physical part of us are exactly the same. This needs to be fluid. The body needs to be fluid. It needs to be strong. The body needs to be strong. So there's all these things. So I think my content, without doubt, scares the life out of people. And I think because what it does is it cuts through their ego. And the ego is not walking around thinking I'm better than everybody else who's got a big ego. The ego is your self-defense system that you build. And you build it to protect yourself. And underneath there's this little 6-year-old going, I don't know if I'm good enough. So you need to get him out and go, you are, let's work on that. So I think the content, because I've seen it in all the messages I get. I've had abusive messages. You are delivering this message. It's okay, off you go then. And I just block them.
Mm-hmm.
Because if that guy came up to me in the street, I wouldn't have him in my life. So why on social media? You add no value to me. Mm-hmm. I often go through and just cull everyone. There's no value in what you're bringing in my life.
They wouldn't say it to you when you're on the street anyway.
Well, they wouldn't. So it's all nonsense, right? It's just like, well, okay, that's your opinion. Get out of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I think the content, because all I do is share my truth. I am not right or wrong because there is no such thing. Look at movement. No one's got the more you understand about the body, then some guy does a laser on the wall and we don't really know anything. And I think the humility underneath that, I'm probably most aligned with Buddhism, and that the whole soul thing of Buddhism, it's not about a god or a deity. It's very much about coming back to the child state, and we know nothing. So with the players, sit before the game and just be nothing. I'm nothing. I've got no power over the next 90 minutes. I could die out there. I could break my neck. Anything could happen. But I've worked hard. I'm pretty good. And I'm just going to work for the guys and trust myself. And so the message will just hit people hard. And I know that because people who've reached out to me, it's gone, I've been watching you for a year behind like my fingers sometimes. And then I've got the courage. Then I got the courage to reach out. And okay. And because I've lived what they're living, and I'm very blessed. I've found a way of articulating that message into something that people understand. And I think, how would I have dealt with a 25-year-old me? Well, you've got to work. Let's take Connor, for example. And I won't share too much, but he was 27, 26 when he came a couple of years ago. I don't know what he is now.
Probably mid-20s. Yeah.
Okay, 25. Yeah. He came on my course. I've written an athlete one now for next year because I'm doing stuff in America, but it was a leadership course I'd written, coaches and leaders really. But he came on, and it's 8 weeks, and the aim of that 8 weeks is to break you down, not by me, just probing questions, probing videos, probing conversations. A lot of time I'd sit on mute and let the guys come back off. Just there's no hiding place. 30 questions a week, bang, bang, making you look at your whole life. Mm-hmm. Midpoint 4 weeks as people come on Zoom and they're just broken. I see their faces, they're like, but good. Because now I've not let the 120 questions, no wriggle room. Now let's find out who you are. And now let's build you into the last 8 weeks where you go, okay, Sweat and Courage, which is kind of 8 weeks, which has become my mantra. My podcast, Everything app, is being renamed Sweat and Courage in January, because I've been working with 2 colleges in the US, been there 3 times with the student athletes, Yale and Cornell. And I've just, they completely embodied this Sweat and Courage thing. And Connor, Sweat and Courage, had it on his wristbands, and he sent it to me. There was an interview he did, and he said, I've got it on my wristband before the big game. He took a picture from the locker room and stuck it in the final, and stuck it in our WhatsApp group from the course. And I'm just with this today, guys. And because at the end of that 8 weeks, you realise that's all you got. You haven't got anything else. And if you look at a child, I've got 4 kids, you watch them, that's all they've got. They just don't know it as that. They're driving every day to kind of, my daughter, I've got twins now, 7 months, they are fighting to sit up. They're shouting and I just want to get up. I mean, that's all in sweat. They're fully invested.
Mm-hmm.
And then they don't know it as courage, but they're risking everything.
Yeah.
They're risking trying the first food. They're risking crawling. They're risking walking. It's all in sweat and courage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so as an athlete, when there's all this information, can you just sit there and go, oh, sweat and courage?
Yeah. I think I remember watching Connor that year. He, for people who don't know Their team won the All Ireland that year, the biggest competition. I think he was nominated for the top 3 players. And he didn't win Player of the Year. I thought he was by far the Player of the Year, comfortably Player of the Year. And I was at the final, I saw a lot of courage where he was taking the ball all of the time. I've never seen rarely seen a player to be available non-stop for the ball. And I can remember, I just remember reflecting on some of my games and that I was playing, and some of the time I definitely look back and I'm ashamed to say it, was like probably hiding in certain situations.
Don't be ashamed to say it. I've worked with half of Man United who are fucking hiding. I've got lads in the Champions League who are sitting in the locker room before the game on 200 grand a week, banging their head against the locker room thing just to find something. And they said, you come out of there, we're all hiding out there. I said, course, because I hid most of my career. I hid. You don't really want the ball. I mean, you look to someone who doesn't understand, they'll be like, hey, that was the one. Yeah, decent game today, Drew. Father-in-law, decent game. What the fuck you talking? I don't know what are you talking about? I hid the whole game.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And I remember like one or two of the biggest games where I felt like I played my best in the biggest games was because I just was like, fuck this. I have to just, it was just go for it. But I never enjoyed a lot of the seasons because a lot of the games I wasn't. I don't know. I was afraid. I definitely was.
Well, fear is thinking, right? So the minute we're thinking, we've got to be careful because we're into fear a little bit, because thinking is, if you look at Einstein or Elon Musk, there's an amazing thing on Elon Musk recently on the 4-part episode, I think on BBC, 1 hour. And I mean, yes, he's in thought, but ultimately it's instinct.
Mm-hmm.
How he got those rockets, how he to the moon, how he built Tesla, it's instinct.
Mm-hmm.
And thinking and instinct are complete opposite parts of the body. We feel instinct. It's an intuition, whereas this is. So I don't want anyone thinking about anything before a game.
Yeah.
Nothing. I mean, it's really hard to do, and I don't think it's possible, but or certainly be the observer of your thoughts.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. If you see someone who's injured, and let's say you draw out a rehab process to get them back into sprinting. Early on, the first couple of weeks, you might have exercises where there's a lot of cues and stuff like that. They're getting in tune with their body. It's a very top-down process. But then as soon as you bring in any speed of movement, any jumping, any running, any sprinting, change of direction, the thinking has to go out the window, because as soon as you try and focus your mind on one body part, everything else just gets muddled up and messed up. And it's like, these people will always ask, what should I be doing in this situation, whatever. And that's where the laser and stuff is really good, for example, where actually it just takes their focus off of that, or you just give them a ball and suddenly you see their body just organizing. And it's not what we know about everything to do with the body is top down thinking too much just gets in the way. So that's
and I got into Wim Hof stuff about 4 years ago, and I did cold showers, and then I run 3 times a week at the lake near me, and I started getting from the cold shower to get into the lake for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And then pull my hoodie on afterwards and run the 2Ks back to the car, or 3Ks, whatever it was. And then I bought an ice barrel, which is out there. I bought that 2-3 years ago, and that's out there now. It's about 2 degrees. I've got an old battered industrial ice machine from a restaurant that went under, and in the garage, and I put it on twice a week and get 20 Ks of ice and dump it in there, because that shuts down that and connects that. The most powerful tool for collapsing the ego is ice, because it can't fight.
Yeah.
Come on then, ice, I'm going to beat you. Well, you can't. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to remain cold.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I bet you get out before I do. Right? It's like, and so what do? You quit, okay? You give up. The place of transcendence, the feeling you get when you come out of that. And I know, obviously, as a player, even going back 15 years, ice baths, of course, every day, and you'd sitting up to your waist, and it's all for your legs. But this, I don't do any of this for recovery now, and it's all about collapsing this and attaching with this.
Mm-hmm. Advice-wise, I know it's much more than what you could just answer in a question, like advice-wise, but for coaches and therapists out there who are trying to get a little bit more in touch with their clients and actually just have conversations that aren't just about the knee joint. Ultimately, even if it's about that, it's like actually understanding what's going on in someone's life or helping them a little bit in that way. Do you have advice, or where do you start, or are some people just more emotionally intelligent and they can tap into that?
Look, I'm naturally very emotionally intelligent. If I'd have been measured at school, my IQ wasn't. I had to work really hard to understand anything. I'm not that way. My big brother was amazing science, maths. I was like tutor. My mum was like, "You're gonna get a C," but I always felt deeply emotionally. Now I know that as emotional intelligence. So when I wrote my course 2 years ago, it was very much more like, okay, if I'm 9 out of 10 emotional intelligence, what a gift that is. And I've worked on it and done all that stuff on top of it. Well, how can I take someone who's maybe really, really, really bright, like far brighter than me, IQ, but doesn't have the EQ? Well, there's some stuff here, there's some tools here we can, because it's not a quick fix. Even the word empathy, and I'm thinking about you as any therapist, is an empathy. And empathy is not something you can think about. It's something you feel. I start my podcast again in January, and I'm kicking off with a couple of people. Mike Brown, the rugby player, has been reaching out to me a lot. Played for England a bunch of time.
Yeah.
A footballer, and a lady, Daniela F. Schief, who wrote a book, Healing and Understanding Emotional Trauma. And her work is incredible. And the way she articulates what fear does to the body and empathy. And there's a line in her book, Daniela F. Schief, Healing and Understanding Emotional Trauma. There's a line in her book saying, one's capacity for empathy is greatly reduced when you went through that experience and shut away the pain of that experience. I'm discrediting it with the words. She put it nicely. Mm-hmm. To cut a long story short, if you want to have empathy, you have to go back into all of your shit and you have to feel again. The reason Steve Gerrard will fail as a manager, the reason Wayne Rooney might struggle, the reason is because they're sitting on mountains of gold, these guys. They've played at the highest level. But the one thing they need to be able to do, connect with those guys, they can't plug in. They can't get the USB because it's blocked under layers of, I'm all right. Nah, are you?
Mm-hmm.
Go back into all those games, game at a time. And what you'll find is I was fucking terrified.
Mm-hmm.
Because if Mike Tyson is saying it and Tyson Fury, everyone else just got to shut the fuck up. I mean, you're not Mike Tyson, you're not Tyson Fury. So
yeah,
you need to sit down and listen here.
Yeah, Tyson saying he was shitting himself before his fights.
So sit down and listen, because and when I went to America, and you're speaking to NFL guys in the college, the American football, the big jocks in the room, and I'm just going to level you in about 5 minutes. You'll be leveled on the floor here, because unless any of you would fancy themselves against Mike, you need to sit down and listen.
Mm-hmm.
And so empathy, it's a return to feeling, and we live in a world of thinking. Everything out there is feeding more data. So all the work I do with people is get them out of this, get them into this. Now we have to trust this, sweat and courage. So it's not an easy journey. I've got my app, which I built for that reason, really, to give out incredible community. And it's called The Fear Coach, but from January, everything is going to be rebranded inside Google, and everything is going to be sweat and courage, because it's kind of like problem solution. Problem is the mental health issues related to the pressure of pursuing dreams.
Yeah.
And sweat and courage is the solution.
What about your personal brand then? Is that going to be?
I'll stay as Fear Coach, but as we build out, because I use the app with a couple of colleges now in America, it's going to be there for the student athletes. And the more I teach my course, it's been amazing teaching my course. 2 years, 160 guys through it. That has just taken me to a whole 10 levels higher, because the experience and diversity in that room. On the last course, I've got a 52-year-old headmaster of Dubai's biggest private school. Lost his edge. Right. So it's like, and I've got a young coach at 19 at Leicester so in that room, some business guys, some football, and yet I did a talk yesterday on change management at Land Rover, and how you emotionally manage change if they want to be a top performing industry, which they need to do. So how do you get through change? And a buddy of mine said, "What have you done for your slideshow?" I said, "Yeah, I've created a pretty powerful presentation, videos and hard hitting quotes that I'll talk around." He said, "Just go on your WhatsApp for a minute." I went in my WhatsApp. He said, "Type in the bar at the top, changed my life." Put that in there. 20 messages from after boot camps. It's changed my life. This changed. I went, Jesus. He said, I knew there would be, because he helps me, co-teaches with me. He's working with me, Lewis Harrington. So I just put all them in a presentation. And there's no ego with that. It's just like, wow, these men are saying it's changed their life. Well, because to say that, David, all I've changed is I've got them out of here and I got them into here. The headmaster at this school was kicked out of a couple of schools as a kid. No ability to have any attention in classes. Didn't like school. He's the headmaster of a massive international school. I mean, I was pissing myself going, when he told the lads that, I said, doesn't it just show you? He said, the shame I got for that behaviour, the shame. I said, yeah, here I am now, headmaster, but still carries all the shame.
Yeah.
Why was any of that wrong? Just you're in the wrong, just get out of school.
Yeah.
Don't go there.
That's the story of so many
fucking headmaster.
Physios and stuff as well, where like they were the person who got injured all of the time and then they wanted to do that. And I think maybe that goes back to what you're saying with Gerrard. I think Lampard is the same. I think Keane is probably the same, where they went to the top of their game and probably didn't have the same struggles. Maybe
I'll tell you what they did, David, because it's interesting. It goes back to the Michael Jordan thing, without doubt, because I did it. And when I did it, there was no doubt I would have gone on and stayed at the Premier League level where I was. They shut themselves off emotionally. Right, going to be a horrible bastard here.
Yeah,
you're talking about cheating on your wife and not batting an eyelid. Not even. Well, that's what you do. And injure someone, up you get, pal. You're done. Roy Keane, snap your leg, off you go, pal. You know, you become a killer. You are getting very close to the line of, if we've got psychopath up here and serial killer, well, no, you start going there. I got there in therapy. I went through my sex addiction stuff and all the things all the people I'd hurt, and I'd become emotionally dead. But when I went, fuck everyone, I'm starting to give respect to anybody. I was a good player. I had a moral compass so strong that went, Drew, this isn't you, man. Like, this isn't the way. In the dead of night. Whereas I think your Keanes, your Lampard, they can carry on, emotionless. But you finish your career, what's that leaving you? What's that leaving you with?
You see, Keane is my
I love
hero.
Him. I love
my
him.
hero, but he looks like a very bitter man now. He really does, and I think it's unfortunate. He still harbors grudges against people that he should just let it go.
Yeah,
it's just, and I just feel like someone like that couldn't be a successful manager at the top of the game.
No, because it became all I was black and white. But here's the thing: he went black and white. I'm all in black and white. I went black and white, but look at this moral compass telling me there's all this grey, and I want to be a nice guy, which is why I was looking like this. When I went all in black and white, 7 goals in 9 games, everyone talking about me, ruthless, cold, bullying people. I mean, let's be honest, Roy Keane on the pitch, I could have swatted him like a wasp. I was 92 kilograms and 6'4". Like, come on, let's get real here. But he went fully in there.
Yeah,
I didn't. But what that's enabled me to do today is still feel. I actually love Roy Keane's messages. I think he talks about intensity and desire and heart and all the things which I fully agree with. We just need to bring in a bit of feeling in. And he doesn't do that, right? Because it's like he can't go there.
No, he can't go there. 100%. And
Michael
a lot of Irish people.
Michael Jordan too, right?
Yeah. No ability. Yeah.
Whereas I think Tiger Woods, Buddhist mother, military father. So he had in the household this Buddhist Zen mother, and he had the disciplined animal. What a powerful mix. But when you leave home at 19 and you're in the world, how do you hang on to that?
Yeah. I think Tiger was humble though. I think his accidents and all that stuff, I think he was more in the black and white before. Then all the things happened to him. He got humbled.
Well, here it is. I don't think he was black and white. I think he was right on the ultimate line of high performance. Black and white, but still a load of feeling and emotion. But I'm talking, I don't even know when it happened, but 2021, it became more black and white every month.
Yeah.
And now you're in. You can't. And then the universe will go, are you still going there?
Yeah.
Back down you get. back down you get, because that's what the life does, right?
Yeah.
I've not put you on this planet with this many gifts to change this many lives, doing it your way. So if I'll kill you now, or you align yourself, it's like, that's what the universe does.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think you can be as amazing as he is without, in the early years, having that perfect balance, the ultimate line.
Yeah.
Have you seen Roy? So I know we're going over. Have you seen Roy Keane's interviews from his early days?
I've seen clips of him. Yeah, I've seen lots of clips. I read his book where he was writing letters to all the Premier League clubs and stuff, trying to get over and stuff like that. So I've seen a lot of it. But yeah, go on.
Well, I'm just thinking there'd have been more of a humility. Humility is the wrong word. It's ugly. There'd have been more of, like, you have to change to survive in the industry.
Yeah,
you have to become cold. You have to become cold if you're going to survive, because it will smash you to your knees.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think, as he went on, like Tiger, and I wasn't able to stay cold.
Yeah,
I could dip in and out for about 6 weeks, but that used to kill me, because then my performance up here, and the coach was like, "This is it." Well, wow, like, and then I just go,
yeah.
And he's calling me, "You're a disgrace. You did." I don't even know what I've done.
Do you think that? I know we'll finish up very soon, but I suppose last question is, how do you think your work can then help keep some of these athletes? And I know you're working with business people and stuff where you actually see a lot of those business people getting at the top of their game, getting very cold as well. How do you think? So, like, they're not going to come to you and say, okay, so you're saying to me there that you need to stay cold to stay at the top. They're not going to come to you and say, okay, help me not stay, or help me like not stay at the top. They want to stay at the top, but not stay as cold. So how does that?
Ronnie O'Sullivan, there's an interview with Ronnie O'Sullivan the other day, and it was unbelievable. He's sitting there, and he's sitting in the studio, and they went, "Ronnie, like, do you think everyone can win world championship?" He goes, "No, you're joking. Have you seen it?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there anyone coming through, Ronnie? No. He said, "You could cut my arm off, I'd still win." I'm not. But really, the message inside there is that not everyone's capable. I've been into, where are we now? 22, 23 businesses in the last 5 years. I've remained at 3. Well, why is that? Because my content's hit the owner. I'm just broken, man. I'm that alpha male. I'm that driven guy like you, but you seem to have found, yeah, I have. Do you want to talk about that? We'll come in and you start lifting the lid on that. No, I'm good. And the ego comes back. And that's when there's no anger. There's no bitterness. Roy, just like, okay, that's his level. He's hit his limit.
Mm-hmm.
It's the ones who, and I'm blown away sometimes, David, with the 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds who just seem limitless to me. Like, just keep hurting me. It's almost like, come on, Drew, just give me more pain today. Not trying to give them pain, just having a conversation which makes them self-reflect.
Yeah. Yeah. See how long they can hang on to that. That's the question.
Of course. Hardest thing in the world is to hang on to that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm not saying you have to be cold to get to the top. There's many incredible leaders who walk the line of both. Of course there is. They're incredible. But I think the majority, a nice moral human feeling beings,
mm-hmm.
who go, but to survive in here, I've got to shut all that off.
Yeah. I think you're
and
right.
Then, it's not many want to go back into that.
Mm-hmm.
It's where I found sport. Going from sport to business I find really easy. Going from business to sport, I don't think you can go from business to sport. Don't think you can.
No, you don't understand that environment.
No. Because look, 3 times a week, these 17-year-olds have got to go back into the arena.
Mm-hmm.
I did a talk yesterday, and there was a guy, and he said, I watched you play, Drew, years ago. I said, no way. He said, yeah, you were 19, 20. He said, remember the big terrace behind the goal? We'd have given you dogs abuse. I said, yeah. He said, and you've just shared this today. He said, and you had to go back out there twice more in the next 7 days. How do you do that? I was like, well, standing here today, it's because I know I'm a very, very strong human being, and I'm very grateful for that. Then, I don't know. Because, well, I do know there's only 2 choices. Become the biggest statistic, which is 18 to 21. You get your first pro contract, 99% had gone by 21.
Mm-hmm.
So when you were watching me, I was 20. And I was close to going. Or you kill yourself, because suicide's the biggest killer to men. That's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I never felt as close to that.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to quit. So what do? I'm getting paid, just keep turning up. Play on 16 more years, you know. And he said, I almost feel, I know what you're going to say. Don't say I feel bad for abusing it. No, look, football's football. The fans, I love it. No problem. As long as I have the tools to deal with that.
Yeah.
Now I'm looking at my coaches all in the black kit with their initials on. What's your job, guys? Because you ain't doing it.
Yeah.
Anyone can learn tactics. You can learn that on YouTube. You can build a house on YouTube. You could manage fucking Man United on YouTube. You could have that in a year, all the tactics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I never felt like too many managers improved me over the years.
Really? Yeah.
One. But actually, none of them had a conversation with me. It was, so that's.
But no blame there, David. I have
no. It's just a regret on my part, but not a blame on to them. Just the way it was, and I think maybe it's slowly changing, but we'll see.
Look, without doubt, it's slowly changing, but the big shift. The PFA, the Players' Union in England, have approached me. The 3 meetings now, and we're tying it up next week. They want to take my education and implement it into a leadership course next year for coaches and managers and leaders. And I've written an athlete one, and they want me to start launching that for young players. And so I'm going to release an online version, and it's module by module videos and questions. And the only way, David, is education.
Mm-hmm.
But not this surface level, just talk week. And, well, I'm not going to fucking talk because I don't trust that I'm in a place where you'll actually take this information and not shame me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or not tell me to get my head up.
Yeah, you go to your manager and you say, I'm feeling this way. And they're like, okay. Secretly, they're like, you're fucking dropped anyway. Yeah.
But even outside of that, like if you go to people and go, how you feeling? Drew, talk to me. How are you feeling today? Well, honestly, I don't know if I love my wife. Why am I doing this coaching shit? I'm bored of fucking saving people. I'm tired. Which some days I feel exactly that way. Well, I don't know too many people who are going to just go, yeah, man, like, me too. They're going to go, shit, right, we need to get, or they're going to go, mate, there's people far worse off than you, which is the worst line you want to hear. I mean, that is torture. Yeah. That's torture.
Doesn't help me right now, does it?
No. Just be me for a second. Like, I'm not saying I don't love my wife, but today I need to unpack why I feel that way. Well, she's resentful. I'm working hard. Not spent that much time with the kids this week because so now she's angry at me and now I'm resentful at her. So I'm going to unpack that in writing and journaling and I'll walk back in the house in a couple of hours and give her a kiss and all will be well, But I've done my work on myself. Mm-hmm. But you can't say that.
No, you can't. Definitely can't.
But to finish, that is high performance.
Yeah,
that's high performance.
Yeah, do you listen? I know I've said it now 4 times, but one last thing: do you listen to the High Performance Podcast? At the start of every podcast, they ask all the people. It's Jake Humphreys. And
I find it one of the most painful podcasts.
Oh my God. There's been a couple of decent ones, but then I realized that it's just scripted and everyone sounds the same. But the first line is, what is high performance to you? And the bullshit rehearsed answers that the people come on with are disgraceful. It is.
And people not knowing and talking for 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's disgraceful. It's terrible.
And I just say, well, it's exactly what it says it is. The highest level of performance in myself.
Mm-hmm.
As a human being.
Yeah.
I find it painful. I find it really painful because, hey, look, I speak to a lot of people, athletes, and they all go, yeah, I find that painful, that whole podcast. And the more they've done it, I've said this to Jake, I've reached out to him. I remember when I was a young player at Norwich and Peterborough and Damien Hughes, I had on my own podcast, which I haven't released yet, and I love your stuff. And I said to him, look, guys, like the one he did with Tyson Fury, he said, Tyson, he said to him, I just want you to sit on the sofa with Paris when you retire and be happy. Look at everything you've done. He's shaming the hell out of him at that point. He's basically going, it's not okay to sit on the sofa at the end of your career and go, I'm not fucking happy being here. Well, I'd say that is exactly the right mentality because you're the heavyweight fucking champion of the world. Jake, what are you? No, off you pop then. I would think to be the heavyweight champion of the world, you have to be one extreme individual, I would imagine.
100%.
And so all Bless Tyson needs is just an understanding that that's never going to change to the day he dies, which I think he does. And he better do some ice work and some meditation and train every day and just about keep the wolf from the door 24 hours at a time. And then you die. That's what it's going to look like.
100%. I have no doubt about that.
All right, buddy.
Drew, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. It's taken me a while to kind of maybe understand some of what you're saying, but then when I reflect back, as I said at the start, it makes sense, and I'm on my own kind of mini spiritual journey, I would say, that's trying to deal with a lot of the shit that has happened in my life, and I hopefully think that makes me a little bit better at working with my clients along the way. I know some people guaranteed will have listened to this podcast and will think, what did I just listen to? That's all bullshit. I have no doubt. And you know what?
Absolutely.
I'm not doing this podcast to appease people or just tick boxes. It's people I want to talk to, and people who enjoy it. So
can I say something which might answer that? I say it with humble, because I asked that same question of myself many times just before I post something on my team. The fuck wants to listen? I'm not so much now, but for sure. The observer of, and I sit here today, I got 6 retainers by some top footballers. I work at 2 massive. I've got Land Rover ringing me and saying, "Can you help create a cultural change across Land Rover?" I'm flying back and forth to America to help some of the best student athletes in the country. The PFA want to buy my education, and to sit there and not attached to that and go, "Wow, look," and to go, "Well, what's happening there?" Right? So there's something that I'm saying or doing right that's attractive, and. And even when I have doubt, because it's very lonely when you deliver this message, I look and see these things and go, whoa, there's something working here.
Yeah.
And I guess that's all I'd like to finish on. Take Connor, there's something in this that's working. Can we be open enough to explore that?
Yeah. Have a conversation about it. Exactly. So
that's it.
Thank you so much for coming on. Is there somewhere that for people who are interested that you would like them to go to check out some more?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn and I'm on Instagram. There's guys who run that for me. I do most of my posts on there. TikTok now, they've set that up for me. I don't have the app. They do it all. I don't want to be anywhere near that.
Don't go on it.
Don't want to be anywhere near looking at dogs jumping out of windows or anything like that. I have written a book, And Then What, which is on Amazon. There's an audio version of that as well. I've got my app, which is called The Fear Coach, but will be Sweat and Courage from January. And yeah, my website, which is fearcoach.co.uk.
Awesome. We'll link all those in the show notes. So
thanks,
Drew, thank you so much. Really enjoyed the chat, and hopefully I'll catch up again soon.
Thanks for your time, buddy.
Hey guys, David here again. I hope you enjoyed the episode with Drew. I know it's a little bit of a different one maybe, but I think it's an important topic to think about for yourself, your career, your clients, all of that stuff. If you think about, like, I see fear absolutely crippling coaches and therapists in the industry. They're afraid to, if you're being brutally honest, or I'm being brutally honest with you, or you're being brutally honest with yourself, people are afraid to post on social media for what other coaches will say. People are afraid to, people know, I think these things help, but because some coaches don't like it, or they might call them out, they're afraid to use those types of exercises or those types of philosophies with their clients. So instead they'll shit all over it. People are afraid what older coaches in the industry will think of them. People are afraid to lose their clients, so they'll sacrifice their morals or their ethics to do things to help keep their clients. People are afraid of so many different things. They're afraid to give the clients what they know or what you really think. I really think they need this, but I don't think that the client will do what I say, so I'm going to give them some bullshit fluffy stuff that I actually know won't help. People are crippled with fear, and then if you think about that, and that's all of us, and then if you think about that from your client's perspective, they're afraid to book in a session with a therapist because they don't know what way it's going to go. They don't think you're going to be able to help them because 10 other they've been to 10 other therapists before. They're afraid to push their bodies because they think they're fragile and they're going to break. People are crippled with fear, and we need to, like, you can see that in your clients, and we're still often too afraid to actually acknowledge that with them and have a proper conversation with them. And like, I'm afraid to say it to them in case they think I'm a weirdo, and they're afraid to say it to me in case exactly the same, probably they think I'm a weirdo, or I don't care or anything like that. So I think it's an important topic. I think Drewe is doing some really, really, really good work. I think I would encourage you to check it out. And I'm not going to try and sell you anything or anything like that in the outro. I would just like to say, maybe if the podcast was a little bit challenging to you or whatever, I would just ask you to maybe question why that is, and think about, just analyze your thoughts a little bit and think, is this something that's going on in my life, or is this a topic that I'm not able to discuss with my clients, where they're struggling and they need help, and they need more than just being given an exercise plan or something like that, or a rub. So hope you found the podcast helpful. Obviously, I would appreciate if you give it a share and a like, and hopefully we can all just keep getting better together and having difficult conversations, even though they're maybe outlawed in different parts of the industry. But I'm going to try and push ahead and do what I think is best anyway. So as always, thank you so much. Thanks to Drewe for coming on, and thanks to all you guys for listening to the DGR podcast. And I will chat to you guys next time.